Experience the magic of the wild on an unforgettable 4-night safari at Mabula Nature Reserve. Hosted by the one and only Stephen Falconbridge. With Steve as your private guide, you'll gain incredible insights into Africa's wildlife, leaving with knowledge and memories to last a lifetime. Get hands-on with conservation, track elusive cheetahs, and even take to the skies on a hot air balloon ride. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm so sorry for the tech issues that meant that for the first 15 minutes of the show, we've had no sound. But it seems like Marcel, the tech genius, and a bunch of other people in FC have managed to work it out. So great to have you all with us this afternoon. See, I'm getting lots of greetings that have come through. So lovely to have you with us, Mercedes Bean and Mohammed Rafi, Deb Davis, Marco Casas, Julian Thomas. Just saying hi to everybody. David, Jane, Ingrid Ludlow, Catherine. Lovely to have you all. I'm very sorry for the tech issues. I'm definitely not a tech person, so thankfully Marcel could figure it out, which is wonderful. Just a reminder to please send through chats and questions and comments. I'd love to hear from you this afternoon. And what a wonderful way to start the afternoon with some elephants at Tembe. This waterhole is just fantastic for elephants. It really is. And I think I saw this boy here yesterday. That big tusker on the left seems to be a regular visitor to the waterhole. Tempe is quite a relatively small reserve compared to, if you compare it to places like the Sabi Sands. It's right up on the northern border of South Africa in the KwaZulu-Natal province, but it's not a big reserve. So I wonder, I have been there many years ago, but I just wonder how many of these waterholes there are, because there definitely seem to be certain elephants that are very regular visitors to this one. Lenny, you're asking why are dew claws called dew claws? That's something I've never thought about before. We know that dew claws exist, but I'm actually not sure why they are called dew claws. So, yeah, this I'm just looking on Google, but it doesn't seem to be a very probable explanation to me. It's likely that the term comes from the Old English declawed, meaning to declaw an animal. So the Old English word for declawing was dew clawing, and so then it became a dew claw. But I don't know, I might need to do some more research on that. It doesn't seem, that says a likely origin of the name, but not necessarily very certain about that. Mandy Land, you're asking what are the animals in the back right? I can see some antelope in the back there. Could be impala or nyala. It's not zoomed in enough for me to actually make them out. But I think it's now off to the back left. Looks like it could be an Inyala, a group of Inyala or a group of Impala. Look at that, Ellie. I love it when they do that, carrying his trunk over his tusk like that. Wow, and look at this boy throwing mud on himself. I mean, those are really impressive tusks. He's an old boy. can see his ears are pretty tattered as well. He's been round the block a few times. There we have some impala in the background.
My heart is pounding at the moment.
We are here in one of the best places in the world to see tigers.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. Myself, I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg, fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
Hyenas love bathing.
Mud wallows can be made bigger and bigger when you see what the elephants are doing around them now. You know, it's a completely natural process where you have this tiny little puddle that over generations just becomes bigger and bigger with this kind of activity from elephants and also from rhino that would come and wallow in them. And then the elephants carting off the mud and the sand. Interesting to see how he almost puts the sand into his trunk with his foot, then grabs the sand with the tip of the trunk and throws it over his body. Quite incredible to see how dexterous they are with their body parts. Those trunks are just so flexible. I think I've said this a couple of times before, even on drives, but an elephant, just as it is either right tusked or left tusked, they also prefer to twist their trunk one way or the other. So when they're twisting it, they'll either preferentially twist it to the right or preferentially twist it to the left. And most elephants will preferentially twist their trunk in one direction only. see what the elephants are up to there. This looks like a relaxed chap having a nice drink. You can hear the grey go-away birds in the background. Oh, look at the hair in his ear. He certainly also looks like a bull that's been round the block a few times. He's not a youngster. And yet when you look at his tusks compared to some of those Tembe elephants, very, very different. And of course, that population would have been contiguous at one stage. Northern KZN is not that far from the Kruger Park as the crow flies, but over time, those populations of elephants have been cut off from one another. And the Tembe elephants definitely seem to have quite a distinctive kind of shape to their tusks. Their tusks are often quite very long, but quite thin compared to a Kruger tusker. And they tend to go down more than kind of stick out parallel to the ground. They almost go down. So quite a different looking tusk shape to most of the elephants in Tembe. Oh, Catherine, you're saying it's much needed elephant therapy today. I agree. Oh, we're going to go back to Roy's Dam. Apparently, we've got a hippo out the water. Let's go have a look there. Oh, wow. Always lovely to see hippos out of the water during the day. A really nice look at their beautiful pink skin. He's not letting us look for too long. I was saying earlier, but I'm not sure whether I said it when I didn't realize that no one was hearing me, or whether I said it afterwards, but I believe that at Roy's Dam, I think it was last night or the night before, Shadulu and Tortoise Pan were wandering around here together. I hope that Shadulu still has her cub if she was cavorting with Tortoise Pan. Let's hope it was just a territorial patrol and nothing more than that. But yes, I believe they were at this very waterhole. And I think it was last night. I wonder where this hippo has been. It's pretty cold in KwaZulu-Natal today, so perhaps it's been a cool morning and he hasn't felt the need to head back to the water yet. Oh, Catherine, Lorraine, sorry, you say it's your birthday today. Happy birthday. Lovely to have you joining us on your birthday. I hope it's an amazing one. Amazing how he just disappears. Zenbe, you're asking if there's been any crocodiles this morning. I haven't seen any yet. And all of you seem to have said you saw a baby. I'm missing something. I didn't see the baby. I can't believe I would have missed the baby. So maybe they were lying up in the shade for a little while. Looks like the Roy's waterhole, Roy's dam, has quite a lot of shady areas around the sides, which makes for nice areas for the hippos to rest. Okay, well, we're going to go right over to the other side of the country now, to Stony Point in the Western Cape. And let's have a look at what's happening at Stony Point, right on the ocean in the Western Cape. Wow, we've got our gorgeous little rock hyraxes or dussies. I believe there's a real cold front that's coming in from the Cape. We're certainly feeling the effects of it in KwaZulu-Natal today, so I would imagine that the rock hyraxes are really enjoying being able to stretch out in the sunlight and warm themselves up. I think it has been a little bit chilly there. And this is one of their favorite pastimes, is just lying in the sun.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
South Africa's wild places are closer than you think, because Federal Airlines brings them to you. From the calm of our FedAir lounge to the smooth boarding of our trusted fleet, we take care of the journey so you can enjoy the adventure. Our flights go beyond the ordinary, connecting you to South Africa's most remote and extraordinary locations. Federal Airlines, your gateway to the South African wild. Step into the heart of Africa from the comfort of your home.
Female leopard tracks over here.
Join our expert guides for a live 3-hour safari where every moment is real, unscripted, and unforgettable. Ask questions,
Animals rely on their senses.
share your thoughts, and be part of the experience as we explore together. Safari Live.
Out here, every wild moment counts, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing.
Incredible.
Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and early access to travel offers. The best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
To try and create these marine protected areas, or not necessarily a fully marine protected area, but just a place where these penguins are breeding and needing to catch fish, where, you know, these big commercial boats can't come and fish and deplete their food stocks. So that was great to hear in the press that is happening, because they really are in dire need of our protection. So Kaz is asking, what do rock bassies eat? So they are herbivores, and they are grazers and browsers. They will eat grass when the grass is nice and green and lush and full of moisture. They will also browse on, you know, any other forbs and herbs and plants that might be around. So they'll eat fruit, they'll eat even bark sometimes. They eat a very, very wide range of plants. There's not a lot of plants growing around in these rocky areas, so they probably have to move quite far to feed. Well, not far. I mean, there certainly is. If you walk along the coastline there's lots of plants around, but the place that they are at now is definitely not their feeding grounds. This is more a place they come to just absorb the sun and warm themselves up. They are diurnal, so at night they're not active, other than on moonlit nights. They do come out on moonlit nights to feed, but otherwise they feed predominantly during the day. And when they're basking like this, there will always be an adult in the group, can be a male or a female, that is watching out for predators. So they bask as a group, and there will be a lookout who is keeping a sharp eye for any birds of prey, would be their main predator. But I do know that there are leopards and caracal in that area around the Western Cape that will also not say no to a rock bassie or a rock hyrax. And they have a very distinctive alarm call when they do see something unusual. Kind of I don't even know how to describe it, but a very sharp kind of a cry that they emit when they see something. As you're saying, it's great to see the penguin again, and asking if there are any chicks. I'm actually not sure if there are any chicks at the moment. I haven't seen the Stony Point cameras for a while. They should be nesting right now, so there should either be eggs or chicks. Amazing to see these Egyptian geese, and to think how kind of they're such generalists that they can survive anywhere, from freshwater, rivers, little dams, to the sea. They have a very very wide habitat preferences. which bodes well for their survival long term. So let's see if there's a little chick there. I'm not quite. Oh, it's difficult to actually see if the adult is sitting on anything right now. So lovely to hear the sound of the waves in the background though. And they breed all the way through from January to September. So, you know, we're nearing or into what, May, going into June now. So there's a very good chance that there could be a chick there if they laid an egg in January or even later. It looks like there's a second one behind, but whether that's another adult or whether it's a chick, I'm not sure. It's very difficult to actually see any detail there. Okay, so I hear from one of the zoomies that there are apparently 2 chicks in that cavity, which is awesome. I can't see them. I can see movement in the back, but couldn't really tell whether it was a fluffy chick or another adult. That's great if there's 2 there. There we go. Looks like he is feeding on something. Some of that almost looks like a succulent plant growing on the rocks there. Some kind of a lampranthus or mesembryanthemum, perhaps. So I suppose you're asking when the Egyptian geese would start nesting here. So Egyptian geese are known to actually nest all year round. They do have a peak from May to December. So we are heading into kind of the start of the peak of their breeding season. But in the Western Cape, because it's the winter rainfall area, which is where this camera is, the peak is more from July to October. So I would expect that they would start only around July to nest. And there's I mean, all the holes and the cracks and the crevices in these rocks, I'm sure there's some lovely nesting sites for them in this cliff face, this rock face. Marco Casas is saying strange point with penguins, geese, and rock hyraxes on the beach. Yeah, it is quite an interesting mix of animals. Johanna, you're saying you didn't think penguins, or you didn't know penguins were around this part of the world. Yes, we're very fortunate. You kind of imagine penguins to be in the icy depths of the Antarctic. But actually, yeah, Southern Africa has an endemic species of penguin that you don't find anywhere else. So we're very fortunate to have those penguins, but they are quite threatened by development along the coastline where they breed. That's one of the biggest threats to African penguins. And then also the impact that these large, very large kind of fishing trawlers are having on their food. Hmm. Zenbe, you're saying it looks pretty peaceful. There aren't any large predators. They actually are, but not in huge numbers. So in the Western Cape, it's quite well known that leopards and caracal will prey on these beach-dwelling mammals and even some of the birds. So they come down from the Cape Fold Mountains, and they normally come at night, and they will sometimes move along the beachfronts and take hyraxes or whatever else they can find. So that does happen there. It's quite a healthy caracal population in and around Cape Town and the surrounding towns. And then leopards up in the mountains have been known to cross the roads and come down onto the beach to hunt. Zenbe, you're asking, are there any snakes in this area? There are a number of snakes that occur in this area. One of the most venomous being the Cape cobra, which is found there.
Join me, Andrew Wistenholm, for an indescribable 6-night stay in the beautiful Albany of the Eastern Cape at Amakhala Game Reserve. Now, this trip is going to be action-packed with a lot of storytelling, adventure, as well as the opportunity to make everlasting memories. We'll be exploring the best of Amakhala by staying at 2 luxury lodges, which will be the perfect blend of comfort as well as wilderness. Book your spot today and let's get ready to explore the wild beauty of Amakhala.
Every guide in Africa has been on an endless quest for the ultimate bush wear. Until now. Rugged Wear has a huge range of amazing bush gear for every wild situation. In the midday heat, those chilly winter mornings, in the storms of summer. Rugged Wear has the bush kit for every wild occasion. Locally made in South Africa, crafted with precision, stitched with quality. Best sighting I've presented, I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala, we got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Okay, well, we're going to leave Stony Point for now, and we're going to link up to Pau in Madikwe and see what's happening at the waterhole there. believe the white-breasted cormorants. Ah, lovely. So we've got some kudu and some waterbuck coming down to drink. Waterbuck obviously far more water dependent than the kudu are. Yesterday there was a lot going on at this waterhole, lots and lots of water birds. And there's a lovely group of impala in the background. And that kudu, you can see his horns are still kind of pointing outwards. So he's got another couple of turns of those horns to do before he's a properly mature bull. So he's got a few more years of growing to do. Catherine, you're saying you have white-faced whistling bucks and Egyptian geese in Germany because they were brought over as pets in the 1800s. Interesting. Yeah, the pet trade actually did a lot of harm to indigenous wildlife because it brought over these animals that really don't belong in the system and often end up out competing the endemic or the native species. It can be a real problem in many areas. Oh, that looks very juicy. I'm trying to recognize what the plant is that he's eating, but it's a bit not that easy to see the detail. He's enjoying it. It certainly isn't grass. It's some kind of a herb or a forb that's growing. Beautiful young bull, though. He's a grazer, so unlike the kudu, which is a browser, the waterbuck is a grazer, and you can see he's focusing his attention on the lush green grass that is still growing on the little islands of the waterhole. On the other side of the waterhole, most of that vegetation doesn't appear to be grass. It seems to mostly be herbs and forbs. So I would imagine that those waterbuck are having to pick in between all the herbs and forbs to get at the grass that they need. Now we've got some red-billed teals. How beautiful. One of my favorite little water birds. Just love them. And those teals will be grazers, weirdly. They eat grass. They also eat aquatic plants and seeds and fruit, but they do spend a lot of time grazing on grass. Oh, look at that. Oh, how sweet. A whole little family of white-faced whistling duck. That is precious. All following mom and dad in the front. Gosh, they've done well. Those are all their babies. They've done very, very well to get them all to that size. Clever mum and dad. Animal lover, you say the waterbuck here don't seem to be as afraid of wading into the water like the other antelope, even though there are 3 big crocs here. Do crocs not eat waterbuck? They do. I'm always fascinated by how blasé waterbucks seem to be around crocodiles, because I have seen crocodiles take waterbuck. So, they do have that oily secretion on their skin, which supposedly, um, you know, I don't know whether that's an old wives' tale or not, but I have read on numerous occasions that it might work to repel crocodiles. Maybe it does to some degree, but I think if a croc is hungry enough, he's going to go for a waterbuck regardless, and I have certainly seen that. So I'm not sure why the waterbuck are so blasé around the crocodiles. It's very interesting. I love it when the ducks do that kind of dabbling where they put their heads underneath and waddle their back legs around. It's so cute. So what they're doing there is feeding on vegetation that's growing underneath the water. And because these little pans and dams are quite shallow, they can actually reach probably almost down to the bottom and get at whatever vegetation is growing down there. Pretty those red-billed teal are. They're so pretty. Interestingly, while the red-billed teal are mostly herbivorous, white-faced whistling duck, although they do eat plants, but they also feed on aquatic mollusks, so snails and things that are in the water, which is interesting. Oh, what is that? Is that a squawker heron? Just see that a little bit. Oh, it could just be a juvenile greenback. No, that looks like a squawker. That's nice. So a squawker heron looks quite different when he's in breeding plumage, but outside of breeding plumage, he can be a little bit tricky to differentiate between him and the what we call the striated heron or the green-backed heron. So I just want to be 100% sure here, because the juvenile green-backed heron generally is a bit of a darker bird, though. That doesn't look dark enough. So to me it looks more like a squawker. Which is not one that we see very often around these waterholes. It's a marvelous waterhole for birding. It really is. There's some red-knobbed coots. I spent a lot of my youth birding in wetland areas. We had the most beautiful, what we call in South Africa, a vlei, which is kind of a marshy area quite close to my home. And I spent a lot of time there with my dad and various family members, my uncle, birding. So this I don't know why, but this camera and this waterhole just reminds me of many happy times spent sitting in bird hides with my binoculars, with a nice cup of coffee and some rusks, and just waiting for something exciting to appear. There's always a surprise when you sit at a waterhole. Viv, you're asking if I remember the first bird that I ever saw that piqued my interest in birding. Wow. So I started birding from such a young age because my dad was so interested. So I think he got me my first Newman's bird book when I was about 5 years old. And there was a bird in the garden, just in the garden, that I loved, which was the crested barbet. But I think one of the first birds that I remember, we went specifically on a birding, we went out early in the morning and went out birding, and I saw a violet-backed starling, and I was blown away by the color in this bird. And that sighting of that violet-backed starling has always just stayed with me. It also, yeah, it really just kind of cemented my interest in birding. I think I just could not believe the color that I was seeing on that bird. So yeah, that's a memory that stays with me from when I was very, very young. Leroy, you're asking what is the difference between a duck and a teal? Well, teals are actually ducks. They're just one of the smaller ducks. But if you read up on teals in any bird book, it talks about them being members of the duck family. So I think it's probably just the size of them that classifies them into a slightly different subfamily, but they are actually ducks.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website. Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure. Every month, something wild lands in your inbox. From rare sightings and behind-the-scenes secrets to expert stories, seasonal changes, and exclusive travel opportunities, the Wild Earth Journal is your free monthly mailer, packed with the magic of the wild straight from the field. It's fun, it's free, it's full of surprises. Sign up now on the Wild Earth website.
Child, I must agree, they were one of my favorites. I was lucky enough to grow up with a big garden, and the hoopoes were regular visitors to our lawns, probing their beaks into the grass to get whatever they could. And it's something that you don't see regularly anymore in South Africa, in suburbia, because of lawn chemicals. You know, if you spray your lawns to get rid of weeds and pests like crickets, you end up killing hoopoes. That's just the reality of it. And we all need to just live and let live a bit more in terms of our gardens. I'm an avid gardener. I love my garden, but I have a pesticide-free garden. There's no poisons that go into my garden at all. And I find that everything balances itself out if you don't do that. You know, everyone says, oh, don't you have a problem with ants in your lawn? And don't you have a problem with this and that? I actually don't. I have a very happy garden. And I think it is because I don't use pesticides, in the hope that maybe I will be able to encourage the hoopoes to come and visit, and won't end up killing them. So yeah, it's sad to think that there's so few hoopoes around in suburbia, because they have all been poisoned by us. We need to learn to do things differently. What a lovely, lovely view of this. It's actually a really big herd of zebra coming down to drink. I appreciate zebra on these cameras, because the last few stints I've had in the Sabi Sands, I've hardly seen a zebra. I know it can be quite seasonal there, but there definitely are very few zebra around in the northern Sabi Sands. So it's always lovely to see them coming down in numbers to these waterholes. And lovely to see how they all kind of just make their way around the stork and the heron. I would imagine maybe the foals. Oh, as I said that, he came over to investigate, but he didn't look like he was chasing it away. He just looked more curious than, oh, maybe I shouldn't speak too soon. No, now he's going to give the birds a hard time. Oh. It's normally the younger animals that do that. Their curiosity gets the better of them. Remember, you are wondering how crocodiles select the zebra that they are going for. I think it's less of, if you watch a lion or a cheetah or a leopard hunting, and it's very prevalent with cheetah. You'll often see that they really are focusing on a specific animal, an injured animal or a sick animal that isn't quite as mobile as the rest of the herd. Oh, and you'll see this a lot in East Africa. I've spent I've spent hours watching Peter hunting in East Africa and how they will focus on that one young animal in the herd or the one animal that's limping. So I think our terrestrial predators maybe select their prey a little bit more than a crocodile. I think for a crocodile, it's really just whoever comes the closest to them gets taken. I don't think there's much, and maybe I'm doing the crocodile an injustice. I'm not saying that they don't have the capacity to think or plan, but I just think they probably just end up going for whichever one happens to be closest to them. Raw, you saying you don't kill any pests in your garden other than the exotics. Yes, I tend to do the same. There are a couple of invasive exotics that I either fed to the chickens or throw in the fish pond if I find invasive species. But for the most part, well, I don't use pesticides at all, and it really works for me. I don't have a problem in my garden at all. I don't have a problem with pests whatsoever. And I just love seeing the life. I've got snakes in the garden. I've got chameleons. There are geckos and triagamas. And, if I start using pesticides, I'm going to be killing all of those creatures. You can kid yourself and think that you're not, but you are. So pesticides and herbicides are a complete no-no in my garden. And in my house, really, I use other means of trying to deter any potential pests in the house. I don't believe in pesticides at all. I think the world would be a far better place if pesticides were not allowed. Cheetah Bev, you're asking where I live. So I live in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Spend a lot of time in Durban and then up the north coast. I do spend a lot of time up in the game reserves up there, the Munyawana Game Reserve specifically. But yes, my home is in the suburbs of Durban. Kaz, you're asking why no hippos in this water? I'm actually not sure. Maybe it's too shallow. I'm not sure why there wouldn't be hippos here, other than the fact that it might just be a bit of a too shallow wetland for the hippos. Ryan, you're saying you've never seen such a big herd of zebra in Madikwe. It is amazing. They just keep coming and keep coming. It almost reminds me of an East African kind of a scene with these zebras coming down to drink. It's quite marvelous, really. Oh, they're all very jumpy, though. They seem to be well aware that there could be a crocodile in the water. As you're asking if I know about the Hottentot fig and whether I've eaten them at all. Maybe I know it by a different name. I'm actually not sure what the Hottentot fig is. I have eaten lots and lots of fruit that, our wild growing fruit. I love any kind of edible fruits that I find in the wild. The Hottentot fig, I wonder if it isn't called something else that I know it as. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, carpobrotus. Oh, yes. Carpobrotus is amazing. So, carpobrotus, I've always just known it by the common name of sour fig, but that's interesting to know that it's also called the Hottentot fig. So it grows all over the dunes along our beaches in KwaZulu-Natal. It's a fantastic plant for stabilizing the dunes. Its root system really works to stabilize the dunes, and it is a very medicinal plant as well. Being a mum of surfers, I have two sons, and they They love the ocean. They love to surf. They often get stung by blue bottles. And it's one of the best remedies for blue bottle stings. You just break off a bit of the leaf, and there's a gel-like substance in the leaf, and you put it on the blue bottle sting, and it takes the pain away almost instantly. So it's just fantastic because it's grows everywhere where there's blue bottles. You have this incredible medicinal plant, and I have actually eaten the fruit. It has an interesting taste. I wouldn't say it's my favorite wild fruit to eat, but I do know it very, very well. So thank you for teaching me something, because I didn't know that it was called Hottentot fig. I won't forget that. I have a deep respect for the Bushmen and the Hottentots, so I'm glad I now know that. Lady Macbeth, you're saying KZN is your favorite place on earth. Wow. Well, my favorite place on earth is actually the Kruger, the Lowveld. But KZN's a pretty good place to live. Zenbe, you're saying you're curious. You know the Nile croc, and I believe that there's a dwarf croc. Are there any other types? So yes, in Africa you get you do get the dwarf crocodile, and then outside of Africa you get, in Australia you get the famous saltwater crocodile. So there are a few different types. I actually don't know exactly how many types. You get a very interesting looking crocodile in Africa that has a very and the name has just slipped my mind now. Very long snout. Oh, what's it called? What is it called? I'm going to kick myself. It has a very long, narrow snout. It is called, the slender snouted crocodile. So you get two different slender snouted crocodiles in Africa, and I believe that there are about 6 species of crocodiles in Africa, and then you have the saltwater crocodile in Australia. So yes, there are a number of different types of crocodiles. And I think even in the Americas, I know there's alligators in the Americas, but I think there's also crocodile species in the Americas. I've always wanted to see one of those slender snouted crocodiles. They look fascinating to me. I'm desperate to get to the rainforests of West Africa, somewhere that I haven't traveled before, but it's high, high, high on my bucket list. I'd love to go to places like the Bon and see the wildlife there, the bongos and the forest elephants, and just incredible wildlife in some of those areas. And I'd love to see a slender snouted crocodile. This chap loves to walk very upright.
He is such a handsome young male. Look at that pose. Absolutely beautiful.
Wild Earth has launched a special fundraising drive for our non-profit, the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. We're raising funds to source, create, and showcase thousands of untold stories. Stories that spark real action in conservation and social impact. Visit our website to donate and explore how you can become a founding donor.
My full name is Mpho Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed is a dog. Okay, no, it's my first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was at this Cedric when we had Mulwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
Deep respect for crocodiles. You say you have heaps of salties, Kaz, in FNQ in Australia. I'm not sure what FNQ is. Something to do with far northern Queensland, maybe? FNQ? All around where you're living now. Yeah, something I'd love to see is a massive saltwater crocodile. But again, living with surfers, I think my husband and my sons both surf. That's something that they definitely don't want to see. It's a saltwater crocodile. What is the mortality rate in Africa due to crocodiles? Nikki, it's quite high. Crocodiles do, there are many parts of Africa where people are still very dependent on rivers for collecting water and going down to do their washing or wash their bodies. So there are many places where people still come into contact with wild crocodiles. So I can't tell you the exact figures, but I do know that there are still in Africa many people that get taken by crocodiles every year. Lovely to see a giraffe here as well. So much happening at this waterhole today. Zebra having a lovely scratch. Venus, you're saying you saw on TV that there's a place where the hippos go into the ocean, and you are correct. It's actually one of the places that I'm desperate to visit, and it's in Gabon. There may be other places in Africa. Well, certainly even down in KwaZulu-Natal in the St. Lucia Wetland Park, so not too far from my home. The hippos occasionally move out of the lake there and rivers there and end up in the ocean. I haven't actually ever seen hippos in the ocean there, but some people have. But I think it's a more regular occurrence up in Gabon. And Gabon is probably, of all the countries that I want to visit, it's it's probably the top of my bucket list at the moment of countries that I would love to go and visit. That and somewhere in the South American rainforests. Brazil or somewhere in Peru. But Gabon is a place that I've been wanting to visit for a very long time. I think the parks there that include those ocean areas where you can see elephants walking along the beach and hippos in the ocean just must be the most incredible experience. So yeah, would love to get to Gabon. Sally, you're asking if it's true that the hippos in St. Lucia walk in the streets. Absolutely. It's the craziest thing to see, but as much as I haven't seen the hippos on the beach around St. Lucia, I have seen them in the streets almost every single night. It's a cute little town, a quaint little town, and the hippos do walk in the streets at night. The leopards do too. There have been a number of sightings of leopard in the streets of St. Lucia. Sally, you're asking, is it dangerous or are they habituated? I certainly wouldn't go walking up to them. I think most of the residents of St. Lucia are very used to the hippos, and so they know what they can and can't do. But it is very much a tourist town. I think there are warnings in most of the kind of popular hotels and bed and breakfasts and places where people stay because they are wild hippos, so I don't think it would be a good idea to go and pose for a photograph next to one. But I think they are quite used to the traffic, and as long as you leave them alone and give them their distance, they should be fine. Yeah, Lady Macbeth, St. Lucia, I also love it. It's a lovely little town, and it is the gateway to the Isimangaliso Park, which allows you to see the Big Seven. You've got whales and the Big Five and dolphins, and it's quite an incredible park. On a single game drive, you can see elephants, rhinos, whales, hippos. That really is quite a phenomenal place. Zenbe, you saying crocs look dinosaurian? Absolutely, they are. I mean, they are. They haven't changed much since the time of the dinosaur. They've been around since the time of the dinosaur, and they, from an evolutionary point of view, their body shape and their anatomy, their physiology really hasn't changed very much. So they are very prehistoric animal, just very successful. They haven't needed to, need drives evolutionary change. If you, as a species, it's the environment that drives the need, and then the need drives the change. So environment obviously drives evolutionary change, but they're so well adapted and obviously such generalists that they have been able to cope with lots of changes in the environment and still remain pretty much the same. Cat fan, you saying river dolphins are very cool too. Oh yes, I would love to see the famous pink river dolphins in the Amazon. Definitely high up on my bucket list. My bucket list is just full of natural places to go. When I go on holiday, I'm not that keen to head to a city unless it's got some kind of real historical interest. But I really wouldn't give you thank you to go and see. Now I'm going to offend people, but a Paris or a New York just really doesn't interest me much. But a Yellowstone or an Amazon or somewhere like that, those are all my bucket list destinations. Yosemite and Jasper and Banff in Canada. I'd love to go up to the Arctic Circle. Love to see polar bears, all these wilderness areas. So many places to visit in the world. Zenbe is saying you think crocs have just shrunk a bit. Yes, I think there were bigger crocs in the days of the dinosaur. The ones we have are a bit smaller. That is true. I cannot believe how long these zebras have just kept coming for. There's just more and more and more. As much as many are moving away again, there still seems to be more coming. Gosh, look at that herd of zebra. They are just everywhere. Camera has really produced lots of activity for us today. It's been marvelous. France, you're asking if Africa has bears. No, Africa does not have bears. It's something I have never seen. I have never traveled to the Americas, and there's oh gosh, and now I think it's the sun bear that I went to a place where I had the possibility of seeing sun bear, but I never did. So I've been to various places in Indonesia and Borneo and Asia where I had the potential to maybe see sloth bears and sun bears, but just never managed to find those species. I saw other incredible things. But yes, I'm dying to see a bear in the wild. That is definitely also bears and wolves in the wild. Very high on the bucket list. Kevin, you're asking if tigers would survive in this climate. Yes, they would. There are some tigers that have been introduced into the Free State in Africa. It's part of a kind of a ex situ conservation program that's been put in place by a chap called John Varty. Has many people that criticize it, but it's quite a maverick idea, quite a maverick program, looking at ways of potentially saving tigers outside of India, not in a zoo, because a zoo animal is very difficult to release back into the wild. So if you can have tigers outside of Asia, where in many places they're not that well protected, that are wild and capable of hunting, and then if anything does go wrong, you've got this population that you can then quite easily relocate back to Asia. So that's the basic idea, and it has been done in the Orange Free State of South Africa, and they survive pretty well. They hunt for themselves, they're breeding, they're basically wild tigers living in Africa, but obviously fenced in. They're not allowed to interact with any of the other cat I mean, I shouldn't say that. There are cheetah on the reserve as well, but there are no lions because tigers and lions can interbreed. But yes, it has been done, and they do survive. Julian Thomas, you're saying you wouldn't mess with a cassowary. They have a mean glint in their eye. I would say the same about ostriches. I was once treed by an ostrich and was stuck up in the tree for a very long time. It was an ostrich on a farm of a friend of mine. He chased myself and my friend up into the tree, and we were stuck there for a long time. He was not letting us down. So they can also be quite mean. Ollie, you say Steve mentioned that animals that are relocated into the wild after being in a rehabilitation center need to be predator aware. That is very true. How do you ensure that this is the case? It's quite tricky. So if you have animals that are born in captivity and you then release them into captivity, release them into the wild, they have no sense of what their natural predators are, and generally there's a very high attrition rate. I can give you an example of this. When I was working down in the southern Sabi Sands in the 90s, early 90s to late 90s, they tried to reintroduce blue wildebeest, because the blue wildebeest population crashed quite dramatically in the Sabi Sands area of the Greater Kruger at one stage, and they were trying to boost blue wildebeest population, but unfortunately they brought the blue wildebeest in from reserves where there were no lions and hyenas, and they had them in holding bomas. So they did a soft release because they kept them in the holding bomas for a while before they released them out of the bomas and into the greater reserve. These poor blue wildebeest they were just annihilated by the lions because they had no natural awareness. And eventually they kind of joined forces, these blue wildebeest, with some of the herds that were that were native to the Sabi Sands, and a few of them did survive because they learnt the behaviors from the native animals. So I think that's an important thing, is to try and maybe introduce slowly and reintroduce into existing groups of native animals that have the behaviors in place that the animals can learn from. But it is a very tricky thing to take an animal that's been born or bred in captivity in a rehabilitation center and try to release them back into the wild. It doesn't always work.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
Step away from your daily stress and escape into nature with Wild Earth. Immerse yourself in the wilderness and become part of the natural landscape. Watch as everything comes alive. Join us as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with the wild.
The stork is spending energy to hunt, but then the rewards are probably greater. You can see how he waits with that open beak while he disturbs the mud with his feet. It's fascinating. I love it. Hammerkorps have a very similar hunting strategy. Well, everyone, I was about to say welcome back, but I don't think it's you that disappeared. It's me that disappeared. I'm not sure what happened to our signal, but it seems like everything's working well again. So sorry about that, everyone. I'm so glad we managed to get back for the last kind of 5-7 minutes of the show.
I feel it is a rosetted morning for us. So yes, let's see what we can find.
My full name is Emojis. Best part of my job is coming to see nature. Worst part of my job is logging. That's the worst thing ever, because you have to log amount of footage. You sit in front of that computer and yeah, you think of deleting the footage, but no, they need the footage. If I want a camel, probably a soccer player. I know some people don't believe me, but I'm very good, and I'm very fast.
Some of you out there are brilliant at identifying hyenas.
Now, why do you think people have got this huge misunderstanding about reptiles?
Right in front of me there was the face of an astounded buffalo bull.
This is live and interactive, so everybody, if you have any questions and comments, please do send them through and let us know what you'd like.
Oh, what a lovely herd of elephants coming down to drink, all shapes and sizes. Jasmine, you're saying a stunning herd. It is. What a beautiful herd of ellies. It's so interesting to see because I've just been talking about how pale the soil is there. And yet you can see that some of these ellies have been dust bathing in quite red, iron-rich soils as well. So they've obviously come from somewhere else where the soil type is a little bit different. It's not unusual to have many different soil types in a reserve, especially if the reserve is large. Oh, he's lifted his foot while he's drinking. So cute. female there has only one tusk. It doesn't look like she has a broken tusk. Doesn't look like it's broken off. It just looks like she only has the one. So sweet to see the three youngsters, all different ages around her. It makes me wonder whether they're all siblings. And that's not the smallest one there that was going for a drink, or it certainly didn't look, the one on the right looked smaller. Maybe I'm mistaken. What an amazing closing scene for our afternoon, these beautiful Ellies coming down for a drink. This has been a spectacular waterhole today. There's just been so much activity. I've really enjoyed Tau today, I must say. The birding's been great. The herds of zebra coming down have been fantastic. Our crocodile's still out of the water. Oh, it's been an amazing afternoon here at Tau Game Lodge. Thank you everyone for joining me. I'm going to be with you again next week and really looking forward to seeing you all back again. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.